Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to chapter 13. Let's finish this up. We're talking about sexual selection. We said that sexual selection is when one sex will choose a mate based on particular features in the other sex. Almost all the time, almost always, it is the female who does the choosing. There is some feature that she looks for in the male, and then she decides that that is acceptable, that one possesses the right features and is therefore an acceptable mate. As we said, in some species, the individual will select. Occasionally, individuals will compete. And again, if it's almost always the female that does the selecting, it's almost always the males that do the competing. It's almost always the case that it's males who will compete for females. Deer fighting over females, goats, rams fighting over females, extremely common. Humans fighting over females, very, very common. Most of the time, there is physical contact, not always. Often the fight can be ritualized, which means sort of kind of like a dance-off. He's got to do a certain move, and the other guy has to do a certain move, and then the female will choose whichever one she prefers. Very common with birds. Birds tend not to fight outright, but the male generally will do a dance. The female has to select, and the fighting in that case is he has to do it right. He has to make the right moves to interest her. Here we see two elk fighting over females. The antlers are for fighting each other, though the female does do some selecting based on the appearance of the antlers. If they're not big enough, if they're not impressive enough, then she's not interested. Interesting to note, when they do fight like this, it's almost never to the death. It does happen where males will accidentally wound each other enough that one will die, but it's always the case that when the loser decides he's had enough, he's almost always allowed to run away. He's not chased down, he's not murdered, he's not killed from behind. When he's had enough and he wants to run away, he can just leave. Another thing is, often if predators, if they're fighting to the death, they tend not to use their primary weapons of prey capture in their fights. Intersexual selection, again, this is mate choice. Individuals of one sex will usually select mates. And again, we've talked about this a dozen times already, and that is that it's almost always the female chooses the male. And it is sometimes the other way around where male will choose a female, but most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time it's always the female has a variety of males trying to get her attention, and she picks the one that she prefers. Inter. What does inter mean? Inter means between, so between the sexes. This is mate choice. One sex chooses the other sex. As we said before, females will choose mates that show good traits. Good traits usually means he appears healthy. So if we think about that peacock, he's got a big, pretty fan tail. It shows that he is not full of parasites, because if he was full of parasites, he'd be sick. If he was sick, he wouldn't be able to devote so much energy to that big, beautiful tail. Very similar to the large antlers on the male deer. If he's sick, he's not able to devote energy to growing these big, wasteful things that actually are not a benefit to him. They're actually a detriment. It's not uncommon for deer to get stuck in branches or to get stuck in trees with their antlers and die because of it. Sometimes deer will actually get locked up together. The antlers will get stuck together and they can't pull free, and then both of them will die in cases like that. So they're actually not a benefit. They are a detriment, these big displays, specifically for the point of attracting a mate. Good genes, birds. Females will prefer males with bright feathers. Again, it shows health. With frogs, females prefer males with deeper voices. Think about it. How about with women? All things being equal, two guys, same job, same car, same house, same income. He's got a high squeaky voice. He's got a deep manly voice. Which one does she want? She's going to be more attractive than one with a deeper voice. Deeper voices. It tends to mean, it means basically the same thing in humans as it does in frogs, and that is he's bigger, he's older. Bigger and older means more successful, and that's what a female wants. She wants a successful male. If it's a if it's a species where you have pair bonding, where male and female work together, then he's going to be a better provider. If it's not a species that pair bonds, if she knows she's going to raise that baby by herself, she still wants the best male, the most successful male, because he's going to have better genes. And what does she want for her babies? The best genes. She wants to pick the best male she can so that the babies that they have will be healthy. And I believe we are done. Good night.